So, how many hairs does it take for you to reach your breaking point? Turns out for me, it's around 16. We're gonna have a lovely time today, so get your hairbrushes and sick bags ready. And I suppose, welcome to Phu Quoc. For those of you that are new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. My name is Kevin and I am the Flip Flop Traveler. I think the internet is in need of a whole lot more honesty when it comes to airline and hotel content, and that's why I'm here. I make trip reports and high-end hotel reviews, and I always self-fund my trips. In fact, you'll always be able to find the exact price that I paid in the description below. This video is created without the knowledge of or compensation from InterContinental, because I want as normal of an experience as possible. So in this video today, I'm going to give you nothing more than my own personal, honest, and unbiased opinion based on my own experience. Right now, I'm on my way through Phu Quoc's main town of Duong. Some might say the fish sauce capital of the world. I was coming from another resort on the island, so don't get confused if you don't see the town on your way from the airport. I'm a firm believer in many things, two of which are, it is what it is, and things can always change. So with that in mind, I'm going to treat this video like just about any other resort review, even though you're all probably here for 16 specific reasons. If you've seen either of my previous videos in this series, at the Regent or at the Pullman, the InterContinental is right in between the two of them. Literally beside the Regent. Both the Regent and the InterContinental are part of IHG Hotel Group, and on a more local level, are both owned by Sirena Vietnam, a hospitality arm of the local BIM group. Arriving at the resort is a very InterContinental affair. As far as large resort brands go, I find InterContinental to be one of the most consistent when it comes to visual design and experience. I think this is the 4th or the 5th InterContinental resort that I've reviewed on the channel from this side of the world, and they all have a similar feeling. More classic than modern, open and airy, inviting but a little bit generic. I can appreciate both sides of this. I enjoy the consistency, but sometimes I do wish that InterContinental would step just a little bit outside of their comfort zone. If you head down to the description, you'll find my next 5 videos to come out, as well as other bits and pieces like the soundtrack titles featured in this video. On your way down there, don't forget to subscribe. I release full-length videos every Thursday and Saturday. As you walk inside, you're first greeted by a soaring central atrium which spans the 19 floors of the resort. The resort was designed primarily by P49 Design out of Thailand, a design firm that has popped up on the channel quite a bit. As you walk further back, you'll reach the reception and lounge area. Both my check-in and check-out experiences were the same, in that I was essentially ignored for a while, found a seat, and just waited to catch someone's eye. The check-in desks all face towards each other in a small area on one side of the lobby. So unless you're standing smack in the middle of them, there's really no place to queue up. Eventually, while I was checking in, I was greeted with a glass of mystery juice. My guess is kumquat sugarcane, which was very refreshing. As we walk around and head to the pool area, let me tell you one thing that honestly shocked me when I was doing research for writing this script. As I've mentioned a few times before, unless a property is historic, I generally don't research the origin of the property before I arrive. Objectively, throughout my stay, I thought the hotel looked really good. as in was in great condition for, a 15-year-old hotel which had recently been refurbished. When I saw that it just opened in 2018 though, for the first time, my jaw literally hung open for a bit. Maybe it's just me, but from the building exteriors to the furniture, and just about everything in between, this resort has a very 2000s vibe to it. Now, I'm not saying it's not in great condition, mostly, but it doesn't feel like it's brand new. Before we dive in further, let's take a look at where we are. Phu Quoc is Vietnam's largest island in the far southwest of the country, known for fish sauce, as I mentioned, and peppercorns. So I suppose you could say that this is one of the most well-seasoned islands. The resort is around a 15-minute drive from the island's airport. Just to the south of the resort is the Regent. On the west side is the resort's namesake, Long Beach. When we get into it, for reference, my first room was facing the Regent here, and my second was facing the interior of the resort here. What I find most interesting though is that the resort kinda looks like a cartoon robot. If you're curious about the best time to visit the island or driving times and taxi fares, this is the graphic for you. The resort, with its 459 rooms and villas, has one large primary pool in the center of the resort, which I suppose technically is two pools, but they butt up next to each other. Occupancy was not too high while I was there, though it was the highest for sure of all of the resorts that I stayed on the island on this trip. But I would be curious to see how this pool looks at peak capacity. Rather, I would be scared to see how this pool looks at peak capacity. Considering how many rooms there are here towering over us, it feels woefully undersized. The thing that I found most off-putting about the pool though was that they started to close it down really early. This clip was filmed at 4:47 in the afternoon. Here's your friendly reminder to please click that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with friends and family. Those are truly the easiest ways, all free for you, to support the channel. If you'd like to support me further, my Patreon is linked in the description below. Thanks very much in advance. Let me just turn on some nicer weather and we can head down to the beach. The north and south side of the resort are very different from each other. On the south side, where we are now, you'll find the spa, the villas, Club InterContinental, and an overall lush and beautiful feel. The north side of the property is equally lush, but is home to the signature restaurant of the resort, Lava, as well as the children's club and playground. Definitely something that you need to consider and possibly request when booking if there is a specific place that you'd like to be closer to or further away from. Now that the Fusion Resort on Phu Quoc is closed, I do think that Long Beach is the nicest, easily accessible stretch of beach on the island. During my stay, it was kept spotlessly clean. While the beachfront facilities and amenities here are certainly not as elaborate as next door at the Regent, I kept needing to remind myself that this is okay because the InterContinental is around half the price. Let's have a bit of a stroll around the south side of the resort and head to the spa. A bit out of character for my videos to visit it so soon, but it's a Harn Spa, one of my favorite brands and a beautiful facility. Knowing before I arrived that the spa was Harn branded, I was actually a little bit disappointed that the room products weren't also by them. But at the same time, that probably means that this spa is truly run by Harn rather than just in name. While it didn't get much fanfare in the region while opening, this resort is pretty significant for IHG Group, being the 1000th property for them outside of the Americas. The history of InterContinental is a really interesting one, which was actually conceptualized at a breakfast between Pan Am's founder, Juan Tripe, and US President FDR. For more in-depth history, feel free to check out my InterContinental Fiji review linked above and below. I think most would agree that InterContinental is the premium anchor brand at IHG. But at 208 current properties, they make up less than 4% of the group's portfolio of over 6,000 hotels. Though there are also 90 InterContinentals in the pipeline. Okay, so by this point, what we've seen so far is a beautiful resort that feels a bit compact and a bit generic, but overall is a beautiful and lush location, ideal for families. What isn't ideal for families, though, are the cleanliness standards here, or the flippant disregard of some of the housekeeping staff. Let me be more specific, one of the housekeeping staff. Both of my rooms were in one of the legs of the robot, so to speak. The open-air corridors on camera now look a bit gray and drab, I think, but in person, they actually felt really nice with this greenery swaying in the breeze and the massive koi ponds below. And now here we are, heading to my second room. And without further ado, why do I have a second room? Normally I film rooms moments after arriving, just after a brief look around. This hair was staring at me on top of the toilet. For a lot of this, I'll rely on photos which show things like this a little bit better. The concerning part though wasn't just the hair, but also this spot over here. And then realizing that the entire toilet seat cover is covered in the same splatter. I understand it's a little bit difficult to see on camera, but I can assure you with every fiber of my being, this is what we like to call in the industry, pee. So that got me looking with a fine-tooth comb, no pun intended, and good God, do I wish I didn't even look. First of all, nearly every surface was covered in, not pee, but some sort of soap scum drippage. Then I decided to take a closer look and found these two guys. And these two. And these especially gross too. And it just kept going. This is all in my bathroom. Oh, and the glasses also had lipstick residue on them. I called the front desk and asked for a supervisor to come to my room double quick. I showed him. He profusely apologized and offered to move me to a different room. I said, okay, fine, but make sure it's a different housekeeper. Let's keep in mind, I genuinely did not inspect the rest of the room, but if the bathroom was this bad, I don't want to be anywhere near any of their other rooms. 15 minutes later, I was escorted to my new room just across the hallway, and I was assured that this one was clean. The supervisor apologized again, and I was left to look around. Surprise, surprise, the bathroom was not full of hair this time, but the bed was. I called and asked again for a supervisor to come into my room. A different one came and immediately could see the problem, obviously. She called her manager, and I suppose this is where my Vietnamese began to help me a little bit. She was genuinely sorry and was telling her boss in no uncertain terms that the bed was in fact gross and full of hair, confirming that yes, this was the second room. After the call, she asked if it would be okay to change all of the bedding. I said sure, please just make sure it's truly all changed. As I continue the story, let's kill two birds with one stone and start the room tour. I stayed in the room. A few minutes later, housekeeper number 1, the good one, remember that, who spoke excellent English came. He apologized and began to change the linens. A couple of moments later, housekeeper number 2, the bad one, came in and started to help him. I should point out that I watched the entire thing. I was sitting at the desk. And I may have also accidentally recorded most of it as well. Silly me, I got confused with all those big red buttons again. They were working on opposite sides of the bed. Housekeeper number 2 was closer to me. She picked up one of the pillows, picked a hair off of it, which she not so discreetly sprinkled on the floor, and she took the rest of the pillows on her side of the bed, 4 of them in total, and put them on the sofa. After changing the bottom and top sheets, she began to put the same pillows back on the bed, when this exchange happened between the two of them in Vietnamese. Housekeeper number 1 reminded her that she needed to still change the pillowcases and pointed at them on the end table. She replied saying that she wiped it already and now it's okay. He again reminded her that their boss specifically said to change everything and make sure there's no hair. She simply said the dirty pillows from the sofa were, quote, already clean. So I have a few working theories about how all of that hair got in the bed. First up is, housekeeper number 2 really put her all into her pillow smoothing technique, literally laying her entire body on each of the pillows. The other way to get hair on the bed is the quickest possible way, I guess. Let's just put the entire duvet insert on the floor, and not even really try to keep the cover off the floor either. I could literally keep going on, but I think you get the picture by now. As to why I didn't ask to have the room changed again, to put it simply, this is what I do for a living now. If the first room is dirty, and the second room is dirty, guess what? The third and the fourth and the fifth and the sixth will be dirty as well. That's half of it. The other half of it is, I would rather see what they do, without me making any demands, and just report that back to you. Could I have gotten a new room if I asked? Absolutely. An upgrade? For sure. A big giant suite? Most likely. A refund? Probably. If those things were offered, I'd make a decision and report it to you. But if I start asking for it, then I can't really tell you that much about their service recovery technique. During turndown, there is a small unmarked jar of peppercorns in my room with a note from one of the supervisors. Throughout the rest of my stay, including at checkout, not another word was said about the problem. What is fair, I think, is for me to let you know what I think would have been appropriate action. Let me point out, I don't think that every single hair means a guest is entitled to anything. We are all human. I even have a 2-hair policy on the channel. Since I started posting videos, if I find 1 hair, I don't show it at all. I don't talk about it. If I find 2, then I start looking for more, and it's all fair game. In this specific situation, after the second room was found to be dirty, here's what I thought should have happened. First, an upgrade to a reasonable suite. Nothing lavish, but something that is clearly a step up, and for God's sake, make sure it's clean. Second, at turndown, a small token of appreciation. Doesn't need to be expensive, and a note from the head of housekeeping or equivalent. Third, when checking out, or sooner if it's a longer stay, a face-to-face interaction with the GM, who would offer their apologies and provide some sort of compensation. In this case, I don't think a refund is warranted. I know many of you will disagree, but I'd say a discount of around half of one night's rate would be appropriate. That could be a comped $80 spa treatment, or a $100 discount on a food bill, or 20,000 IHG points. Plenty of room for creativity here. Finally, make sure that the guest has a point of contact and invite them to reach out directly next time when booking, and then, if they did, simply ensure that they get the best possible rate. If this was my hotel, those are the steps that I would take. If you watched my Apurva Kempinski video from Bali, you'll remember that that's almost exactly the steps that they did for me for a less concerning cleanliness issue. Okay, let's get out of this room and have a look around the restaurants and bars on site. First up, just next to the pool, is Ombra, which is open for lunch and featured a light Italian-ish menu. Then we have their signature restaurant, Lava, serving up a seafood-forward grill menu. By the way, over on this side is where you'll also find the kids areas, including the club and the playgrounds. Then we have Sora and Umi. This is the resort's all-day dining venue, and I'll give you a better look during the breakfast buffet. Here's a menu for the rest of the day. The next one feels out of place for me, but a randomly placed tea lounge just above the lobby, which focuses on afternoon tea sets and desserts. And then finally, at the top of this monstrosity of a tower, as one viewer called it in the Regent comments, we have the Inc. 360 bar, which is the highest bar in Phu Quoc. The bar interior was designed by Australian-based Ashley Sutton. On a clear day, the sunset views from up here would be absolutely incredible. For a rooftop bar in Vietnam, the prices aren't exorbitant either. If you're planning to be up here for sunset though, make sure you do make a booking prior. Finally, we have the Sea Shack where I ate, serving up a variety of cuisine for lunch and dinner. I had a chicken salad for a starter and then the Phu Quoc mountain chicken for a main. In the history of this channel, I've lost 2 video clips to corruption, and my main dish today was one of them. It was delicious though. And I was talking about video clip corruption, just in case that wasn't clear. Okay, time for breakfast. The restaurant interior is bright and airy, and they did have decent coffee as well, but it did take quite a bit of time to get the attention of staff. The food spread was really good overall. Everything you'd expect, plus a decent Korean and Pan-Asian section. There was also a separate kids buffet area along with a kids seating area, both of which were really thoughtful and well executed. I've seen lots of kids buffets before, but rarely do they feel like they were part of the original plan. Okay, so as we take a peek at the fitness center, let me wrap this up. The housekeeping standards here are piss poor, pun fully intended. But what really got me even more was the blatant I don't give a crap attitude of the housekeeper, as well as the lack of meaningful follow-up from anywhere near management. This is one place I will not be coming back to. As we head into the score, a reminder about how my penalty scores work. I use penalties for point deductions that, in theory at least, may have only applied to my stay or may have already been fixed. The first score that you'll see, the property score, in this case is 86 out of 100. That score is what I imagine the resort would be had there not been any cleanliness issues. The My Overall Impression score of 56 out of 100 takes the penalty into account and reflects how I feel about my specific stay and circumstances. Lastly, a reminder that my scores are always relative to the price that I paid. So I hope that this was an interesting watch, if not an aspirational property to add to your list. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss out on my twice weekly videos. I'll see you next time from the JW Marriott here in Phu Quoc. Oh, and as always, thanks for watching until the end.